Minutes late, so stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Welcome to a Thursday night edition. It's the Orange and Blue Blood Show. I'm Buddy Martin. The program is heard 4 times weekly right here on this channel. We're glad you could join us tonight. We have good stuff tonight for you. I'm going to be telling you, I have the audacity to say this. I've got the secret for Billy Napier's success. I wrote about it in my column today. It's online now at gatorbaitmedia.com, and it's really what I think and believe. It's pretty simple, too. So just think basic. And believe it or not, it comes from the wisdom of Ben Hogan. Ever hear of Ben Hogan? Well, you should have. Speaking of that, the Masters is going on right now. Got a couple scores to look at. Tiger was obviously not good today. He was 2 over. So he's trying to survive to get to the cut, and which may be pretty high considering the scores were low today. And I've got some scores for you I'm going to read to you. What's going on tonight. And what a beautiful day in Augusta. Not going to be that way this week, though. Bad weather is coming. The tee time's moved up tomorrow 30 minutes earlier. So whatever time you thought somebody was teeing off there a half hour earlier. Last time I looked, Tiger Woods was 10:18. I'm not sure if that went up 30 minutes or not, but about that time. So, yeah, beautiful day, wonderful golf, low scores, many, many low scores. A bunch of folks busting at par. And by the way, 3 of my guys are right there at the top. I picked them last night, and most of them are right there. Certainly I didn't have Hovland. But John Rahm, my guy, is tied for the lead. I picked him to win it. Bruce Koepka, my dark horse, is tied for the lead, 7 under. So it was a good day. There was some Cameron Young, Jason Day, both 5 under. So we'll take a look at those scores later, talk about it. Ben Troop will be here in a bit. He won't talk much about the Masters, but I do want to get to that point about the wisdom of Ben Hogan and what it means in the column that I wrote today on Gator Bait, which is the secret is in the dirt. That's right, the secret is in the dirt. I'll explain that to you when Ben gets here in France. France will be along. And let me just say to you, too, that the practice was held today, some kind of workout, and our guys were there. Kudos to Kyle Curtis, who may or may not be along. He's busy writing. He had a little video for you. So here's what it looked like today as the group, well, they worked out in the big field. All right, not sure what you can tell from that. That's some video that Kyle shot. along we'll talk about it later. And Billy Napier in his press conference was a little more upbeat. Orange and Blue game is next week. I mean, this time, right? And my column today talks about the sense of urgency, but also the fact that it is what it is. In my opinion, what they got to do is stay the course. It's hard, but he's got a plan. And here's the thing, this whole thing about recruiting, which is what we're obsessed with, and I realize it's about the stars. I realize it's about getting the 5 stars and the 3 stars and what have you, but it's also about training. It's also about developing a roster. It's also about getting good players that don't get in trouble, and they're coachable. Now, Billy's got some staff changes on his staff. I like what I've so far. I don't really know the defensive coordinator, Austin Armstrong, yet. I do know, obviously, that Billy, that the wide receiver coach, we all know about him. And we know he's been here before, and he's a terrific coach, and we think that's an improvement. So anyway, we'll talk more about that with Ben. And there's some talk about having scrimmage games. I tried to get the bite on it today, but I couldn't get the portal to work to get the video. There's it's going around now, and yet last night, I think it was Feinbaum had a list of games. He said, what do you think about this for spring games where you're playing a smaller program in your footprint, as Billy Napier called it? I mean, I'll make up a team. Let's say Bethune-Cookman, or someone, or even Stetson, or whatever, a smaller school that you could scrimmage against, charge admission in the spring instead of having a spring game, which, as we know, is really not a game. It's just a glorified scrimmage, if that, and having a competitive scrimmage and giving the other team a chance to get exposure, and also raising money for charity. I like that idea a lot. And you may have some ideas who to schedule, what schools. If you do, jump in there, and we'll hear from you and see what you say. So there's a list of those around. Let me say good evening to Michael Burton, Tommy Gunn Seal, Donald Wilder, Roger Burns. What's up, Roger? Haven't heard from you in a while. Ron Faciano. Do I know you, Ron? You knew. Well, welcome. Dan Bond, reliable Dan Bond, who's watching out this weekend for the big show with the gymnastics team, as he does a great job of covering the gymnastics for us and other things. So Dan says some interesting wagering props bets for Tigers, 2,500 to 1 for a hole in one, 800 to 1 for an eagle. Well, I'm not going to take those. Tigers struggling. And by the way, just to be out there is somewhat of a miracle, and we wish him all the best. And saw him today. It's still almost painful to watch in a way. He was +2. Didn't play terrible. Didn't play good. When the scores are 7 under and Tigers +2, doesn't bode well for the weekend, but all the best to him. Dan Vine says Florida A&M and have the band at halftime. That's one recommendation. Some are saying Southern, their band, whatever, is a good one. And Racy Walker says, does the Florida have a bunch of billionaires like Miami Hurricanes? No, don't have a bunch. I have some, don't have a bunch of them. So we'll see. But I'm going to do this. My man Ben's on the line. I got much to ask him about. We're going to play this commercial from Titan MRI, and here we go on Orange and Blue Blood Thursday.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff Cardozo. Last night's show was a good one. We introduced Allie Peak Wilbur, the wife of the former punter, Eric Wilbur, and she was terrific. We'll have her back again, and one night we'll have her on with this guy right here, who's one of our favorites, and we love Thursday nights when we get this guy, get Ben. What's up there, Troopster?
What's going on with you tonight, buddy?
Hey, listen, I'm just watching the little Masters. Keeping an eye out. That baseball game, by the way, right now, Florida, Tennessee. Florida just went up on Tennessee 2-1. They're in the top of the fourth. So Gator baseball, big series this weekend. A lot of stuff going on this weekend, Ben. I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on. Softball, gymnastics, scrimmage, a lot of stuff. Yeah. So I thought about you last night. Allie Peak is an interesting person. I don't know if you know her. You might remember Eric Wilbur, the punter, and she is a mom of four. Lives down in Tampa. Does her podcast, and she was terrific. And we're going to have her back again. And she knows a lot about the Gators. She's been following since since 2005 or 6. She remembers you. She's that old. My God, she remembers you. Well, what the heck? And you're a youngster to me. So I saw your interview with Ricky Pearsall, which you had a couple of weeks ago, recently. Your 84 Reasons. And really, he seems to think he's on track for something special. If I got the drift of the interview exactly right, I think he even announced he thought he would like to try to get the Biletnikoff Award, which is great, for all people who want to do that well. And I think your takeaway was pretty positive, wasn't it, on him?
Oh yeah, Ricky Pearsall. Buddy. I went out there and said, you the biggest. Every year now, we're trying to see who's going to be the big announcement of who's coming back. Ricky Pearsall coming back was huge because that wasn't based on. He wasn't based on if Anthony Richardson was coming back or Osiris Torres was coming back. The great thing about a guy like Ricky Pearsall is he got to learn under a great coach. Hermel was out there at Arizona State. He comes over here with Billy Napier. And he got a taste of the SEC football. He talked about how it lives up to the billing. But he also talked about wanting to be able to carry the torch for, the wide receiver position at Florida, which to me doesn't get talked about enough when you talk about the Ike Higgins, the Riedel Anthony, the Jabbar Gathers, and Willie Jackson. The list goes on and on. When people will say, well, why would he say he want to win the Biletnikoff? I like when players put it out there. Look, man, I'm here to be the best wide receiver in college football. I just happen to go to the University of Florida, and I like those type of aspirations. But he's a route running Jesse now. He can run the full route tree. And I
like that phrase. Wait, you say route running Jesse?
Oh yeah, he's a route running Jesse. Oh
man, that word Jesse, that's one of my words from many years ago.
Exactly. And the thing is too, he understands his full role. I know when he first got here, there's the full like off season, going through the off season program, not just being here for the spring. Him and Xavier Henderson and company. He gets to be a guy to say, look, I know I'm gonna be the number one guy, or that's what I'm vying to be. Also, I don't mind being a mentor because the great thing about when you become an upperclassman is you become an extension of the coaches. So now, not only am I going to be the first in drills, showing the example, not just for the offense, but for the team, I want to show other guys this is how you get over, man. If they doubling you, if they doubling me, you got this. Because that's when but we know what we have in the running game. Yes, you listen, we're not replacing Osiris Torrance. This guy gave up 0 sacks at Louisiana and at Florida. That doesn't happen often. Yeah. But when you take whoever's going to be, Graham, it's going to be Jack Miller, whomever, you give them guys they can depend on. And I know the tight end position is one that I hope can definitely make some strides. It's going to make everybody better. But Ricky Pearsall, very, very likable. And listen, he put it on full display against Florida State. You want to know how dangerous he can be? I guarantee you, them boys from Tallahassee ain't gonna take him lightly when they got to go to Tallahassee this year. But I just asked Ricky Pearsall what went into it. He talked about, look, man, football is one of those things at the University of Florida. I want that legacy. I mean, congratulations to Jabbar Gaffney, teammate of mine.
Yeah,
getting accepted to the University of Florida Hall of Fame, getting the news from the man himself, Steve Spurrier. That's what you plan for, and I know
that's real cool.
I know legacy is something that more players talk about now. Buddy, we kind of cancel each other out. It's so many of us that it's easy to lose track of how. But Ricky Pearsall is saying, I want to be remembered as one of the best wide receivers ever come through here. Now, those some lofty expectations.
That's a tall order. That's a tall order. Yeah,
but he didn't leave Arizona State, a team that was definitely going to get him the rock to come to a team like Florida with no expectations. And obviously, you see what he's capable of. So, yeah, it was a very humble to have him on the podcast, 84 Reasons. Very, very polished. I don't think he takes himself that serious. takes the game very
Takes
seriously.
the game very seriously. Yes, he does.
Takes the game, takes preparation, takes his teammate. But to me, those are the best players, the ones that can laugh at themselves, understand, man, I got a unique, tremendous opportunity. And he get Coach Gonzalez. Oh, my goodness. Because the thing about it is, buddy, that was, look, obviously,
He got Billy G now. He got Billy G.
He got Billy G. He got Billy G. Corey Raymond being named the DB coach is huge. I'm not taking that away.
I'm with you on that.
But you remember, listen, Freddie Swain, Tyree Cleveland, Hammond, Van Jefferson, any one of those guys could have went over 1,000 yards in that offense with Dan.
How many times did we talk about that? How many over the last couple of years? We talked about that. How do you get 4 guys in the league and get them enough playing time? And don't get me started now because you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah,
you can't get Trent Whittemore on the field. Drives me crazy.
It is, but I will say this. Billy Gonzalez, Coach G, this is what I can say about him. He seemed to say, listen, fellas, I don't have – you ask him who his favorites are, he's going to say every last player I coach.
Yeah.
But this is what I think Billy Gonzalez does. He says, I'm going to be able to get the best out of these players. I'm not going to show favoritism. The practice tape will decide who jumps, who gets out there on Saturdays, and let the chips fall. I mean, once you out there on the field, man, you're going to decide who get the rock, like who's getting open consistently. But I just listen. Ricky Pearsall was the announcement of the offseason, him coming back, because I don't even if Anthony Richardson not coming back, you don't think Graham hurt? You don't think Jack Miller, the quarterbacks like, dude, Ricky Pearsall, he gonna make my life very, very easy, because when it comes to the route tree, he be routing them DBs up. I'm looking forward to see him too. The one thing last year that we don't have to worry about this year, buddy, is second year in this system, right? Yes, it's going to have some different wrinkles to it, but you know it's going to be led by the run game with that two-headed monster, with E.T. and Johnson. And I think if you can add a complementary passing game, a consistent passing game, because I think it's going to be a really, really, it's going to be a much more hard offense to kind of deal with, because they're going to have them safety and close when first and second down. But hey, man, shout out to Ricky Pearsall. He loves his teammates. They seem to love him. He fits in well being a Florida Gator. Looks good in that orange and blue. And we'll see what happens in the fall, because like I said, he ain't gonna sneak up on nobody. I don't know where he gonna be ranked as far as like all SEC lists coming into this season, but he's more than on the radar, because, I mean, guys, he just showed a little blip of what he can do. Looking forward to seeing him in year 2.
He may not catch a whole bunch of balls because they ain't going to throw the ball as much as they normally do, I would think. But still, if they have a decent record and he catches, what would be a good number for him? 45 balls? I don't know. And scores 6-7 touchdowns, he'll get some recognition. And there's a few other good ones out there, but we don't know a lot about this team except for Ricky Pearsall and a couple other guys and the running backs. We don't really know them that well. And today at the press conference, I don't know if you heard it or not, I tried to get a bite cut and didn't have time. but Billy said he singled out Xavier Henderson, which we haven't talked much about. We know about Xavier Henderson. He's got a ton of publicity. He would not declare a leader in the quarterback situation. In fact, if anything, I heard he built up Miller a little bit today, and said he'd been really impressed with his willing to compete. So that was the deal there. So I'm going to say this, and I hope it doesn't come off as being critical, but I mean the fact is, look. You better start pumping it up a little bit. You got an orange and blue game next Thursday night. You want to, quote unquote, sell tickets. Not really, but you know what I mean. And you want people to have a reason to want to go to the ball yard. They don't know the quarterback, don't know who he is, don't know much about the team, and still this is Billy's second year. Now, having said that, I'm going to broach the subject with you here in a minute. When Franz gets aboard, we can discuss it. I've come full circle in my mind about where this team needs to go on the pace and how to get there. And remember, now this is the fact. We just saw a Final Four with 0 McDonald All-Americans, okay? 0, not 1, all right? It's not always about the 5 stars. Certainly you want to get them. One time in baseball, a major league manager I knew told me they were going to have a strike in baseball. I said, man, they can't do it. That's going to be terrible. And he said, he knew it, well, we could bring up our AAA team and put them on the field, and who would know the difference? They know the names if you didn't know who they were, right? And so, can we really tell the difference watching a team that, they don't have but 4, they only got 3, 4, 5 stars, they only got 10 4-star? We can't tell. It's how they perform, how they're trained, right, Ben? I mean, you played. I mean, you weren't a 5-star, were you?
No, but you look. I mean, if I'm just being honest, which I am, I didn't know what that stuff was. I mean, when I first got to college, the guys got tape on their cleats. I didn't know that was fattening up. I was a football player, and I'm not taking nothing away.
And that's good. You were a football player.
But listen, it's like I think the Final Four is a great analogy. You talk about San Diego State.
Yeah.
You talk about FAU. Mm-hmm. You talk about Miami. So you got the Beach Boys. Really, the boys by the beach, versus the blue blood in UConn. Now, yes, UConn went on and they won it, but it's one of those things to where UConn, even though those players had nothing to do with the tradition of UConn, they're carrying on that tradition once they get to the Final Four. Right. When you start talking about the University of Florida, it don't matter if you're a 1-star, 5-star. You are carrying on the tradition of the University of Florida. So, so much is given, much is required. And sometimes, buddy, it's like when Ventrell Miller.
Yeah.
I think it's like a couple of years ago, he's walking around talking about what he wants to do. And who walks in, they'll go Brandon Spikes. To let him know, dude, we've been doing this. Listen, we hope you become the next.
Yeah.
All you get a chance in Florida to do is to become
but
the
next. But you got to do it the right way, he told me, man.
Absolutely. And I do think that even with what you said about Billy Napier, I think what Billy Napier is learning is this. I'm gonna big up certain guys, and I'm gonna downplay the quarterback position because that makes the competition,
I hear
even
you.
better.
Hey, look, Stetson Bennett. Look at Stetson Bennett. We can use that as an example. My gosh,
he might. Stetson Bennett. I mean, barring certain stories, Stetson Bennett might be one of the greatest stories in college football, bar none. You don't got to like the school he went to, but as far as like big game, big game ability. Every big game he was in, SEC championship, SEC MVP, college football playoff MVP, national champ. And I think what it is, buddy, is he was surrounded by 5-stars.
Yeah.
Brock Vandegrift and those guys. So he's Carson Beck and those guys. He been surrounded by 5, so I think he was a 2-star or what may have you. But you make the greatest point, buddy. What do you do when you get the opportunity? In the words of Herm Edwards, it's not who you play, it's how you play when you play. Period. Period. Because, buddy, what gets you in trouble is when you got all them stars by your name and you ain't living up to the stars. Well, look, high school is not necessarily equivalent to college. High school means I've given myself enough of a great opportunity to come to college. Well, high school is going to be the last time you're going to be the most dominant player on the field. I'm the best player out there. Look. Tim Tebow, I can say this. Tim Tebow was not better at quarterback than Percy Harvin was at his position.
Oh, no.
The problem is Tim Tebow touched the ball every play. So when Tim Tebow first get to college, he had to play. So they tell him, listen, we're not going to put you in the quarterback. We're going to put you in on 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, 1st and goal to kind of get you used
and
to
run the football and run like a tailback.
That way, by the time you become the starter, you know it is. But that's one thing I had to learn. People don't understand the pressure of going to Florida. And I'm not saying that they need any sympathy or empathy. I'm saying sometimes you got to really be out there to feel it. Because when I come to Florida, it was supposed to be Jesse Palmer. You know who's supposed to be next? Brock Berlin. You know who broke up the party? That would be Rex Grossman. Nobody saw Rex Grossman being as good as he was. Just like a Kyle Trask.
He brought his tape in. He brought his tape in from Indiana.
Isn't it ironic that when Kyle Trask get drafted, you know who did his voiceover? Rex Grossman. Because they were very, very similar. Both. Now, even though Rex should have won the freaking Heisman, Rex wasn't a Heisman finalist. He should have won it. But, buddy, I think that's the thing, too. The reason why a guy like Billy Napier would have former players or certain people come in, because you're showing guys, dude, we've been doing this for a long time. And I use the word we, very humbly. You can't play. You're not going to play the interior defensive line position better than Big Money. You're not going to play the defensive end position better than Alex Brown. You're not going to play the safety position better than Reggie Nelson, Gus Scott, Major Wright, Ahmad Black and those guys. So when you start talking about the legacy, this is what they should do. And I'm not saying they don't do it.
Yeah.
At least once a week, put on whatever position you play. Put on tape of guys that came through before you to show you. Look at this guy. Because listen, when people ask me, "Hey man, who's the greatest quarterback in Florida history?" People think I'm gonna say Danny Warfel. People think I'm gonna say Tim Tebow. I say Shane Matthews. Shane Matthews started
Turned it all around.
Because, buddy, no matter what, if you don't got a barometer, you know why people was looking forward to Danny? Because they said, "Oh my God, Danny can play like Shane." Shane was incredible. So yes, you are right, and I do think that players not to their detriment, but I think sometimes, buddy, people get so caught up in because I'm the next up, I'm the current player.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to see the current players. Buddy, listen, people, Buddy is a Tampa Bay Rays fan, so.
Hey, I'm undefeated. What can I say? I mean, your Braves were beaten one time, so I mean, I'm sorry.
But I will say this: the greatest thing that happened to me when I was in Florida was the Alex Browns, was the Mike Pearsons, was the Alex Willis's, because guys said, listen, man, welcome to the team, but you only one of 85. You're not. Jesse Palmer, thank God he was charismatic and went on to have the career he had in television, because he wasn't gonna beat out Rex Grossman and Brock Berlin and those guys. But hey, buddy, you said it though. If you can't handle the limelight, if you can't handle scrutiny, you can't come to Florida, and that's coaches too. If you can't handle what comes with it, hey man, pick another school, because you know how. But that seat for Billy Napier is extremely hot. I don't think he's in danger of losing a job in the second year.
Right.
But he's gonna have to go out there and look good in Jacksonville. And this Thursday coming up.
Yeah.
Or next Thursday coming up.
Thursday.
He's gonna have to.
Showtime.
They're gonna have to look good, because it can't be no 10-3 game.
No,
they want to see some
gotta
points.
see some points on the board. Real quick before I got to get to the part about the legacy, I got somebody in mind you're going to want to talk about. There's a guy that was no 5-star but left a fantastic legacy. And by the way, just so you know about great players, I go way back. Tommy Shannon played when Spurrier played. He was a left-handed quarterback. He started. All right. You know who said the greatest player he ever saw was a Gator? You can name 25 guys and you won't come up with it. Larry Dupree, a tailback. And he played in the backfield. And Shannon saw a lot of them and played with. They didn't say Steve Spurrier. It was only he said Larry Dupree. So I mean, you have different flavors, but I'm just saying there's been a lot of great players. Not all of them have been, Heisman Trophy winners. There have been a few others that have been really good. But question for you, and I don't think you're going to let us get out without answering this, because for David Baldoff, he wants to know about the tight ends on the squad, on the roster. Now, I saw a big dude today in the video. I had that handsome, I believe his name was, 6'6". I don't think he's going to be a starter, but he's a big guy. Billy Napier loves tight ends. He's got one hurt. We know, there have been some injuries. Odom looks like I think he's going to be okay, but I'm not sure. Talk about what you know about the tight ends on this roster. Who have you seen and who do you like?
I mean, obviously, I do my best. I know that, certain guys are dealing with injuries. I hope they get back. But, Arliss Boardingham, I think y'all about this. The thing about Arliss is this, right? Arliss, buddy, I always look at where guys come from when they get recruited. If these guys are coming from the Southeast, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, I go, okay, this young man is coming from, I think, Las Vegas. That's a long way from Dodge. Now, I will say this, though. The thing about Arliss is, I mean, unfortunately for him, or fortunately for him, one guy goes down, he has to step up. I like all the guys in the room. I just think that the thing about the tight end position, I think people need to stop thinking that what Kyle Pitts did is normal. It's not. Kyle Pitts is one of the rarest of the rare when you talk about his ability. But when you look at when Kyle Pitts goes down, and you had Gamble, you had Keon Zip and those guys. You need multiple guys, and I think the thing about the tight end position, I heard they got some great pub coming out of camp. Dante Sanders, I think he's down a bunch of weight to be able to be more of a pass catcher. You got Jonathan Odom coming back. I would just say this, buddy. They're gonna have to do it by committee. Obviously, we got a new tight ends coach. The tight end position to me is obviously gonna be near and dear because that's what I played. But I don't think people understand how hard it is to garner play calling for that position, and it starts in the spring because they're not gonna just fall in love with you come fall camp. You have to show them something in spring camp. And buddy, you said it. They ain't gonna be throwing the ball 30 times. They might throw it 20. They might throw it 20. So you got to find a way to get some plays called for the tight end position, or them receivers gonna love you because if they ain't throwing you the ball in the spring and the fall, it's gonna be like, yes, Keon Zip had an incredible touchdown against Tennessee, but you see how he was scratching and clawing to get that because he don't get as many opportunities. So I know we've been talking about the tight end position since the unicorn left, that being Kyle Pitts, but I have to see it because I'm biased. I'm always rooting for my guys in the tight end room, but I mean, Franz, you've been there to see him. The one thing
Franz is looking at that baseball score. Florida's got 6 runs now in that baseball game. He's looking behind himself.
It's a Florida baseball is about as good as they get. I can't. What's the big kid name? He pitches and he like a baby.
Yeah, Caglione. Caglione. Yeah. He had the bases loaded earlier with him on a bat. I thought. Well, let's bring Franz on in here real quick, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you, man. No, but we'll talk about it.
I got to interview on Cags, man. I'm just saying, got to get him.
Yeah, he's a stud, and I'm gonna get to all that in just a second. I got to put this spot on real fast. Franz, come back. We're talking about the tight end position. You know a little about it. You can throw it in. I've got one for you. I've got the secret for Billy Napier. All right, I found it. I figured it out. You went to the press conference. I heard you asking questions, but I got something for you today, and it relates to Ben Hogan, okay? Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan said it, all right? And I'm going to tell you why it relates to him, because Ben Hogan once said, the secret is in the dirt, okay? The secret is in the dirt. Now, Ben Hogan's been gone a long time, but that's still a very famous quote. Here's a spot. We're coming right back with Franz Perry.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
All right, Meldon Law, they won't back down. Franz Beard, welcome to the program. Gators are now up 6 to what, Franz?
6 to 1.
6 to 1.
And just one out. They had back-to-back home runs. Rivera
Who hit them? I had to turn away. Who hit the home runs? Do you remember?
Rivera hit a 3-run homer. Langford walked. Caglione doubled. Rivera hits a 3-run job, and then Riopelle follows with an opposite field home run. So we're up. And Kurland earlier hit a home run too.
He's out of his slump finally, huh? That's good. Yeah.
Well, that's not bad for a kid who should be,
going to prom. Yeah.
They had Sullivan, they had Kevin on earlier, and he said after batting practice every day, we asked him at this weekend. We asked him, how was the prom?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to get to you on this practice zone. You were asked Billy some questions, but I've been waiting for you to get here. And remind me, Ben, we'll get Franz to weigh in on the tight ends as well to answer the question we had. But here's the deal. I have discovered the secret for Billy Napier, and it's in the words of Ben Hogan. Ben, you know who Ben Hogan was?
I do not.
All right. He was at one time the greatest golfer on the planet. He was a guy who was 5.
Was he one of the ones on the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance? Was he one of them?
He was mentioned, I'm sure, but he won the Masters twice. He won 9 majors, considered to be of his age back in the day before I was even in the game. In the 50s, he and Sam Snead were like the biggest guys in the world. And there were some people who thought he was a guru of golf. That his big thing was he invented practice in golf. He invented it. People would go out and hit practice balls. Ben Hogan invented that. And he once said to Dan Jenkins, a friend of mine who knew him real well, Franz, you've heard this, the secret's in the dirt. Now, what does that mean? That means you go out there and you beat balls till the sun goes down, and you find out what kind of player you are by hitting golf, by practicing and working your tail off. So I have a column today about that, and I'll get you guys to weigh in there. And I said in the column, it stick with me on this. It's a little bit of a reach, but it has to do with Ben Hogan, Urban Meyer, and Vernell Brown and Billy Napier. Okay, now how's that? Well, I talked to Urban today. I asked him about your friend. You guys both know him well. In what Vernell Brown went to this team. Franz, I went back and found your column you wrote about the time the team flew in from South Carolina after getting beat and parked the plane, and they said, you ain't getting off this plane to make a commitment. There were about 4 or 5 guys, and one of them was Vernell Brown, who had been injured at Vanderbilt, was on the road trip. And Franz, it was a beautiful thing that you wrote about that, about how they basically called everybody out and said, look, ain't no in between. Either you're in or you're out. You're going to be on the team. You're going to be, this is the way, Urban's way or the highway. And the guy who led that charge was the guy who, by the way, I looked it up, he weighed 148 pounds when he came to Florida. 148 pounds. And people, I saw an old Ray Hines column, Franz, on Post. They were bashing Spurrier for giving a scholarship to the guy. It was a waste of the scholarship. Well, we all know about that. We all know what Vernell became, quote unquote, the face of Florida football, right? And he stood up in that time when Urban needed him. And I talked to Urban, and Urban's quote was, he meant everything to me. He said, basically, I got the quote in the story, but he said he was he was a grinder, he was an overachiever. Oh, exactly what I was looking for. So that is the dirt. Grinder, Ben. Grinder. Billy Napier needs to have grinders. He's going to go out there and grind it out in the dirt. And that's the key to this team as they get together now and be about the heart of the players, the willingness, the work ethic of players. Who's going to lead them? And I think that is the key to it. That's why I said is the key to the future for Billy Napier. The secret's in the dirt, the grinding. They got to get players who want to work. And I think Billy thinks secretly he's got that. I think. Now, there's a lot of things that are deficiencies on his team. I'm not too thrilled how they've handled their publicity and how they've sort of kept stuff private. But anyway, that's another story. All right, so I'm going to step out of the way. Franz, you go first and respond to that, and I want to hear Ben's take on it.
Well, let me first thing say is the night before Spurrier signed Vernell Brown, Jim Nyblack, the late, great Jim Nyblack,
our friend,
called him up, Spurrier, and said, here's the deal. He said, sign him. And if he can't play, he said, I will pay for however many years he's here. I'll pay for his scholarship out of my own pocket. Mm-hmm. And Steve Spurrier knew one thing about Jim Nyblack. If Nyblack vouched for a kid, you knew he could play. And all you got to do is look at what happened. Now, granted, they misused Vernell at first. Vernell ended up being a tremendous cornerback. Despite his size, he was a tremendous cornerback. And the other thing I remember about Vernell is he breaks his leg against Vanderbilt. Florida's playing FSU. They got Greg Carr, 6'6", playing wide receiver, and we are going to play him one-on-one with Avery Atkins, the late Avery Atkins, true freshman. And Vernell Brown stands on that sidelines, and he coached him up the entire game. And Avery was the kind of kid, every time Avery would see me, he would come up and say, how am I doing? He's a kid that needed that constant reinforcement. And he knew me from high school, and he always would ask me, How am I doing? How am I doing? And Vernell was that guy that was sitting there saying, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. And Avery Atkins, Greg Carr caught one pass that ball game, 6'6", and a senior wide receiver who goes on to play in the NFL, and a freshman intercepted a pass on him, broke up two other ones. So the key is this. Vernell Brown was a guy that he was, I guess, Ben, probably the word you've heard a lot, he was a lunch pail guy. He whatever he lacked in overall talent, he made up by coming to work and outworking everybody. And he was a can-to-can't guy. As long as you had the facility open, you were willing to coach him up. He was willing to work for you. But he's right. This is what is going to make the difference, because right now, Florida cannot out-recruit Alabama. They cannot out-recruit Georgia. And the reason we can't is because Alabama's got, 86 national championships in the last 12 years. And Georgia's got got the last two. God forbid. I hate that. But just the same, they've done it. And until Billy shows he can win, and that's what this year is going to be about, he's not going to out-recruit these guys. He is drawing closer to them with his recruiting. We're seeing that with guys he's getting. He's doing a really good job, but he's recruiting sort of with them, but he's not out-recruiting them, is what I guess I'm saying right now. And until Florida gets to a point where they can out-recruit these guys, that's what it's going to take. You're going to have guys that are talented enough to come in here and play.
Yeah.
But they're going to say,
on the same page,
how hard they work at Georgia or how hard they work at Alabama, I will outwork them.
And it has to be the same kind of thing. And Vernell said that now on the plane that you wrote about so beautifully all those years ago when he and the other players got together and said, they got beat by South. I said, look, we're going to do this Coach Myers way. If you don't want to be here, get out. It's okay. Don't. The players said it. Either jump on the bandwagon and play all in, or get out. They called everybody out, and get what happened, friends.
Yeah, they some guys weren't there next year. Jarvis Herring, Jeremy Mincy, and Vernell Brown.
Yeah.
Plane was on the tarmac for 2 hours when it hit Gainesville, and players started to get up, and those three stood up and said,
Yeah.
Everybody sit your butts down. Nobody's leaving till we finish. And all three of them had their say. But I think Vernell was the impact guy of the three, because he became
the face of Florida football, as Urban said. The face of Florida football, right? That's what he was. Yeah.
He was.
So.
And you just said a key word here, buddy. And this is what the Gators have got to find right now. This spring, they have to find a face for Florida football.
Yeah.
There's got to be that one person that everybody looks to and says, this is the guy that defines who the Gators are. We don't have that guy. And as talented as Anthony was last year, and he was sort of the face of the football program.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a face made for radio and me right here. I'm that guy if that works out. Ben, give me your response. Say good evening, Lauren. Tell me what you think when I said it's about the dirt, and I think that Billy needs to follow Ben Hogan's advice and the secrets in the dirt. You got to get down there and dig in it, and you got to earn it, and you'll be on the same page. Ben, am I full of it? If you want to tell me, fine. What do you think about that?
No, I think that's a great analogy. I think because sometimes, as they say, you want to know guys who really want to be here for the right reasons, and look, true intention is gonna come out in football, and that's what any player. But when you talk about a guy like Vernell Brown, I don't know if anybody has a legacy like his. I mean, he's from Gainesville, right? He understood. Hey, man, the whole, every time you think of Vernell, man, you think of Ruby, man. You're 100. You're 100 and nothing. You're 5 foot nothing. And you have even though he was an incredible player. The thing about Vernell is Vernell carries on the Gainesville, Florida legacy. Like, look at these guys. I mean, Anthony Richardson, Chris Dorn, and Willie Jackson Sr.
Yeah.
and Jr. and Terry. These guys know, hey, man, you know how much pressure it is to go to the school that I grew up rooting for. But the thing about a guy like Vernell, when I played with Vernell, I never ever. I know Vernell's a small dude, but that'd be the last thing on your mind. Like when Vernell plays, you expect him to make a play. The only time Vernell size came into play, man, they used to make us pull these sleds, like 250-pound sleds. You put the little harness on, and the sled like 250 pounds. But most of us, 250. Little Vernell saw them sleds and said, "Look, man, y'all doing too much now. Now y'all trying to." But let me tell you what Vernell did. You think Vernell asked somebody to help him? You think Vernell said right out there? Now, it's going to take him a little longer to pull that sled, but Vernell said, look, man, I'm a Florida Gator. And, I know that he's leaving the program, him and Anthony Richardson. Man, I love Vernell. I used to call him my little brother, man. Vernell, listen, how Vernell look now. It's how Vernell looked in 2002 or 1. I know that the legacy, his kids, they smoking everybody in track, beating up everybody in football, his brother coach. You can't say enough great things about Vernell because those are the type people you want to recruit, not just players.
Yeah,
you want to
recruit.
Key. And
that's the key. The face of Florida football.
I just think for a guy like Billy Napier is saying, look, man, the same way Fran said that while Anthony Richardson was the face because he was the quarterback, Florida doesn't have an identity. Because when you think Alabama, you think something. You think Georgia, you think something. When you think Ohio State, what Florida is, Florida, what is their identity? And it's going to take a player who's probably not prominent, who's probably not starting, to be able to say, man, this is what our legacy is going to be. Because I don't, you've made it when you were at Florida, but you ain't done nothing. Dude, you want to be able to say, hey, man, we got this thing jump started again. So I do like from the third. I mean, you always hear players talking about getting out the mud. Yeah. Well, that can't just be a phrase this year, man. You got to be willing to. That Q stuff is like Ron Zook used to tell us, y'all get ready for the game like you're not finna get dirty and sweaty. It shouldn't matter how you look when you run out there. You should make that person in front of you respect you. So if the word this year gonna be respect, it's got to be a group effort. And I know we got in the run game. I know we got a fiery little defensive coordinator. I know Billy G is back in the house and Corey Raymond is getting new contracts. That don't win games, man. They got to go out there and put something, because if they can establish an identity through a committee, by committee, because buddy, we talked about it with wide receivers when Billy G was here last time. Swain, Hammond, Cleveland, Jefferson, do it by committee. I think Florida gonna be a hard out. I'm not saying they finna, go undefeated, because that's never happened. But I think you try to establish some identity in the spring. And like I say, I know that Billy Napier is still kind of learning what he should and shouldn't say to the media. But I do agree, buddy. Man, put some fire under you, man. You got to get this fan base going, because whenever coach got to tell fans, y'all pack the stadium. That's a problem.
Yeah.
They used to pack the stadium when we had Ron Zook. We went 8-5. They still was packed. Because we weren't the greatest Florida team, but we gonna be a hard out. So I do agree with the whole identity thing and getting out the dirt, man. I mean, most of these boys ain't coming from no big city. We got to get more boys from the muck. Them boys are down there burning.
Yeah, we just got a quarterback from down in Pokey there. We'll talk about that. Yeah,
we need to get the boys chasing rabbits.
Yeah,
the boys eat too much. They eat too much asparagus, and they meeting friends and luring at the freaking hot tub at the facility.
Okay, speaking of tough out, the Gators in baseball are up 6-1 in Knoxville. Too bad. And Lauren, fresh back from softball, has got some news on the softball team. Lauren, how you doing? First of all, what about the softball team that was slumping?
Yeah, well, they kind of got the kind of win you want to see a team break out of slump. Elizabeth Hightower gave up a solo home run with 2 outs in the 7th. And so Auburn tied it up. And then with a runner in scoring position, the Gators failed to get a run in the 7th. They moved on to the 8th. Brought in Raleigh Trilachek, who basically shut down the Auburn offense, and then they kind of with Skylar Wallace up. She actually earned a hard-earned walk, and then Kendra Falvey walked. So they opened up the bases. They had a pass ball, which then opened up the bases for Charlotte Eccles, loaded the bases, and then Reagan Walsh hit a walk-off double to beat the Auburn Tigers. So definitely was able to beat. They were able to beat Auburn's Penta, who pitched a really good game, kind of kept the Gators off balance. Yeah. And, it was a good win, definitely a win that they need to get, a nice win to start the weekend. And obviously Thursday with Easter coming up instead of the Friday night tilt. But, definitely a game that the Gators needed. You could see some kinks, in the armor a little bit. Not as great a fielding team as I think Florida is used to. They had an error that led to a run. Actually, two outfielders ran into each other. Kind of uncanny for a team like the Gators, but they'll correct and look forward to probably pitch Delbury tomorrow evening and possibly come back with Hightower on Sunday again. So, but a good start to the weekend for the Gators. Definitely need to get that one after kind of a lackluster performance up in Columbia last week. So,
yeah. All right. Well, good to report. Now, friends, you were at the press conference today, and I'm going to hit you guys all up with this. We had a little news this week in terms of a recruit, another quarterback, left-hander, who's also high-grade point average baseball player. People excited about the fact he's a 5-star, which, I caution you, that's fine, but doesn't mean, everything in the world. And I want to get your takeaway, friends, from the Napier press conference. I heard most of it. Heard you asking several questions, not the least of which about the idea they're kicking around about having a spring scrimmage against a smaller school. So give us a report, friends, out of that. Tell us how you feel about things. Let's go to Lauren. Let's go to Ben next on what you're feeling, any upbeat tick, or how do you feel about what we're looking for next Thursday, and then we'll finish up with Lauren's idea. We'll do another great report card, which is our expectations, starting on a base of 10. I think last time we did this, they were somewhere around 7.5. I did one at my table the other night with a group of Gator fans, and it was a 7.1. So we'll see where that expectation is. All right, so go ahead, friends. Heard you asking questions today at the press conference. What'd they say?
Well, the biggest thing I took away from it is, first off, there's no way he's going to tell you who his starting quarterback is, even though I think we all know it's Graham Mertz. But Billy is funny about things like this. He is the hardest coach in the world to get to praise players publicly. And he waits until the season, and when the season's going on, he'll say things. But when it's practice time, no, he'll say stuff after a ball game and whatever like that. But he's not really big about doling out praise when it's just practice. I think he's kind of a guy that says, practice is practice. Show me what you can do when it counts. And but he did say this. He said, Graham Mertz is mature, and Graham Mertz has been grinding and getting things done. And he's impressive. That's about as much praise as you're going to get out of him. The thing that I took away most is that I asked him, I said, are you on schedule for where you think you should be at this point of spring practice? And he said 100%. What that tells me is he's seeing, buddy, what you say, the grinding is going on in practice, because as Ben will tell you, spring is when a young man's fancy turn in Gainesville turns to the Itchituckney River and to Crescent Beach. And it is not to spring football practice in 90-degree weather when it gets muggy as hell, because you're going to get enough of that in August and September. So this is just extra mugginess, and the fact that he says that they are getting the improvement and they're on schedule, that tells me something, because this is a coach that I think his expectations are 9 wins or more this year. I think his expectations, personal expectations, are a turnaround like they had at Louisiana. The schedule's certainly tougher than what he had at Louisiana, but coaching is coaching. You play the people that are on your schedule. He's got a tougher schedule, but he's got better players than he had at Louisiana too. So we'll see what happens. But my takeaway from the press conference is this is a coach that's pretty happy with where his team is, with 1 week to go in spring practice.
Ben.
Make sure I get off mute here. No, I agree with Franz as well. I was like, keep up with the recruiting. Buddy, look, I do my best to not get too high, too low with these recruits. I'd rather them have 5 stars than 2 stars. If I'm just being honest. But the thing about Billy Napier is when he's answering Franz saying, I'm 100% where we need to be. Obviously, when it comes to the staff, the video staff, they got to put out video of every freaking. They ain't gonna give you the nuts and bolts of practice. They gonna give you some highlights here and highlights there. But I think the great thing about when a team doesn't have an alpha male and we waiting to see who it's gonna be, I still think that's a good thing. Because as much as we want to go into the season with a Heisman Trophy finalist and a Thorpe Award finalist or whatever, guys got to establish themselves, man. And I like that. I like that because we know it's a lot of noise coming from that team over there on the Panhandle. We know everybody. We know Cristobal. You need to have a Cristobal down there in Miami. Florida's got to figure out, where do you want to be in the state this year? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think we're a couple of years removed. Florida's going to play Miami and Florida State in the same year. I think this spring, I do agree with Franz. I do think Graham is a guy. Look, you don't even got to show me Montreal and ET no more. Them boys there, they primed and ready right now. I just want to see what we look like in the spring. And somebody needs to tell Billy Napier, listen, man, you the coach. Like, I get it. You got to keep a certain demeanor, but you can loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Like just a tad, because I look at it like this. No, I've never been a head coach. No, I do not know what a head coach goes through. But if you're going to coach him for 2 years or 10 years, you want to enjoy it. You do not want – look, man, you're making the money, and I'm not counting nobody's money, but I would hope that you would enjoy this process. And like you say, Franz, you're finding a way to be in the conversation with Georgia and Alabama in recruiting, and you won 6 games. You know how much easier life going to be for you if you win 9? If you can recruit with them, not better than them, but you can even be in the same conversation. You won 6 games. Life becomes easy when you win 9. And if you can find a way to go to Atlanta, life will definitely pick up. Because we got Lagway, we got the other kid that's coming. I think he's the left-handed kid. It's like
Austin Simmons from Pahokee. Austin Simmons from Pahokee.
Is that the kid with the 5.34 GPA?
Yeah, just like you.
Same thing.
Hey, Ben, you and I could add, Ben, we could add ours together. We wouldn't get 5.3.
Man, my credit score is 5.34.
Lauren.
Well, I think that I didn't get to attend, but I did watch the press conference, and like I wrote in my article, it seems like that Billy Napier and his staff have kind of addressed some of the things that you want to kind of iron out in the second scrimmage. And one of the things that I mentioned was start to establish a hierarchy at that quarterback position. And like Fran said, he didn't come out and say it, but you can pretty much bet that Graham Mertz is the guy. And what I mean by, and what that lets me, a lot of things, what he said was that Graham has really put the work in, has really understood the offense, put the time in film-wise since the minute that he got here, as somebody that really wants to come in and really ascend to that position and make sure that they're lockstep and ready to go. One of the things and that I liked is, he talked about a few of the defensive guys having a decent day, but an offensive guy that stood out was Xavier Henderson, who's somebody
he mentioned him. Yeah, he did mention
who obviously, comes from a nice pedigree here at the University of Florida, and somebody that I've always thought kind of could be a star in the making. He kind of fits, that pro style mode of a receiver. I don't think people nearly, realize how fast he is, particularly straight ahead. Once he gets out in front of you, young man that ran a sub 46 400 in high school, things like that. And I think that if they can establish Xavier Henderson and kind of be, the yin to Ricky Pearsall's yang, I mean, I really think that will help Graham Mertz, because what I think Graham Mertz will do that Anthony Richardson didn't, and obviously what Anthony Richardson will have to learn at the next level is
hit receivers in open space.
Exactly. The first read goes away. Let's drop that ball to our playmakers. Let's go, look here, hitch, throw there, and the ball's out. And I think Mertz will surprise some people with some of that stuff. Because I think if you go back and you look at some of Anthony's biggest mistakes, they were either reading too quick or, not reading fast enough. Now, I know that doesn't
throw
seem
people
like
open.
Everybody's like, duh. But you know what I'm saying? Those of us that have watched the game and understand, and Ben can echo that, linebacker drops away, that ball goes now. It's not a question, so I think Xavier Henderson could be somebody who could really, flourish under that kind of thought. And, once again, like I said in the article, you want to see progression in the second scrimmage. You want to start to mimic game situations. And it seems like the Florida Gators were able to accomplish that, now. And the one thing I like, and like Fran said, you don't play tomorrow. Long way to go. A lot of football to play, a lot of football to practice, a lot of weights to be lifted. And, you don't want to – you want to be right come last day in August. That's when you want to be right.
All right, here you go, guys. And I'm going to ask you for your score when we get rid of this. You know where I'm going here. I'm getting a little hungry. And Mama Troop is soon going to be – I just plan to be a whole new crop. This is not them. I got a whole bunch of new greens and all kind of stuff. Oh, look at those delicious things. Pick those babies off, farm to table, right in the old bucket. And it's fresh and green. And Steve Spurrier will be proud of me because he said – he was the team nutritionist. He always said, put something green on your plate, okay? And there it is. Go to buddytower.com. I found out from Laurie. And you can get one of those. And look at this, guys. This is what I did after I got the greens, okay? Now, this is what I made. And you tell me, friends, I told you this is your meal when you come to the house. I'm going to cook it up. This is going to be I'm going to let you sit back and dine and, in gourmet style. As soon as this thing gets up, it's circling around it. There it is. Check it out now, dude. You tell me that ain't good looking. Look at those greens. Look at that organic, fresh, lean beef, and you can't beat it. So if you want to join up, like Mama Troop's going to do soon, you can go call me, DM me, or go to buddytower.com, and I'll tell you more about it later. All right, guys, it's report card time. Expectation of 10. We do this every now and then with this group on Orange Blue Blood Thursday. I just want you to give me a few words. Where are you now? Franz, you're the mathematician. Where were we on our average last time? I think somewhere around 7 and a little over 7. But anyway, Franz, what do you give on the expectations?
I think Billy Napier's expecting to win 9 ball games.
So what is your expectation on a rate of on our quantitative analysis on a 10? Where does that put your expectation scale?
Oh, I'm getting more and more to the point where I'm believing what Billy thinks he's going to be able to do. I'm not willing to say 9 wins just yet. But
no, not wins. It's just a scale. It's just a scale. It's not a number of wins.
Well, the program is at an 8.5 right now.
Okay,
easily.
That's what I want to hear.
And that's obvious because the coach wouldn't sound that confident if he did. Either that or he's the biggest liar in the world, and I don't think that's the case.
All right, wait a minute. You just call him a liar? All right, Ben, what's your grade?
I'll give it a solid 8. I mean, obviously I have to get my dudes from afar. I'm always looking at the injury bug, but I'm looking at recruiting. I'm looking at what's going on the field. I'm looking at Mike Peterson, giving good grades. Like
Yeah, yeah.
if I would have gave it a 10 if I would have just seen the defensive every time the defense coordinator speaks, he make you want to go out there and play for him. That dude there
Okay.
is
All right.
full of energy. But 8 is good. Like I said, it
8.
is a
All right. You got a
spring.
solid 8.
I'm
All
gonna give
right.
it a solid.
All right. Now here's the guy who lowballs. We'll see what he's going to do this time. Lauren, what you got?
I'm gonna go about 7.2.
Woo!
Which is up
Up
from
slightly.
where I was.
Up slightly. Franz, do the math on this now, Franz. You got to do your math.
And my reasoning is obviously the hiring of Billy Gonzalez as receiver coach, as well as everybody I talk to, and I have conversations with some people, a lot of people that are much closer to the program than I am, and a lot of them on a consistent basis have told me that they really think that this program is headed in the right direction.
All right.
And I do like the I like Armstrong.
You ain't got to explain it. You just have to give the number and you stand behind it. And I'm gonna round it out, Franz, with a 7.8. All right. Now give me the math on that, Franz. Can you figure it out? That's a 7.2, a 7.8, 8.5, and 8. What is that, Franz?
I would say it right at 8.
Right at 8. So we're up. We're trending upward here on Orange Blue Blood Thursday.
Phil Abner just got a strikeout with the bases loaded to get the Gators out of the inning. They're up 6-1 going into the top of the 7th, and Phil Abner just came on and just got a big strikeout. I mean,
all right. Good job, everybody.
Fur coat. They got the fur coat out tonight. Where's Tennessee's fur coat?
Yeah.
With the mustard jars. So all the mustard jars. Yeah.
I do not know a single baseball coach in the Southeastern Conference who likes him. And, I cannot think of a single baseball coach who likes him. And I don't even know if his wife likes him. But I can tell you this much. He's only been at Tennessee a short time, and he's won some ball games, but he's burned a lot of bridges. And,
Franz, how do you like Andrew Nimhart?
How do I like Andrew Nimhart?
Yeah.
I wish to heck he had. I wish to heck our offense had been.
Well, wait a minute.
Kind that
he's gone, right? Well, he's gone in the portal again. Nimhart's gone, and he announced that he's going to the portal. So there you go.
Andrew Nimhart. Are you talking about Ryan, his brother?
No, it said Nimhart, the guy that played Florida.
Well,
no, not him.
Creighton.
Pacers now.
Do what now? No. I'm talking about a guy who played at Creighton last year. Okay.
Ryan Nimhart is Andrew Nimhart's younger brother. He's been at Creighton the whole time.
Okay. Nimhart. All I saw when I went on the air was Nimhart went to transfer portal. No, I guess I assume that's the one.
That may be the case, but he is Andrew Nimhart's younger brother. Andrew Nimhart is proven to be the steal of last year's NBA draft.
Yeah.
Taken in the second round, and everybody's saying, how was this guy not a first-round draft pick, and how is it that all these people in the first round missed out on him? Because he is having one terrific rookie year with the Pacers. It's sad that he just felt that he wasn't going to develop here at Florida. He certainly did a good job developing at Gonzaga. And hey, guys, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I am. I said on Monday, I said it was going to be a 130 to 140 point game.
Right.
Do the math. 135. So I guess I was pretty much on my.
You were. Congratulations. Good call. You were right on it, brother. All right. Now I'm gonna give you a little math. It's 10 after 10. We got to go. Thanks, guys. Great job. Great show. Have a good weekend and happy Easter. See ya.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. That wraps up the show for tonight. Get my Nimharts mixed up. Well, thank you for listening and watching tonight. I know we had a baseball game going on, but all you folks out there in YouTube land and other places that you hear us, appreciate you being involved in the program, and we're proud of what we do here. We're going to keep getting better all the time, new guests, new formats, and exciting stuff. So let me tell you about my good friends that sponsor the show. One of them has sponsored the show for years. They're great folks here in our community. They're stakeholders in downtown Ocala. They do great things for our community, and they also are very forceful in the medical community. They have a reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility. WinStar Medical Research brings cutting-edge clinical research trials to Ocala in areas like Alzheimer's, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect people in our community. And also, they do lots of clinical research about people in our community to know more about us. Since their inception in 1998, WinStar participated in more than 700 clinical research trials, continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies throughout the medical industry. Go to online at renstar.net, find out you can take part in some of these trials, and you can, in some cases, get compensated for time and travel. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to our usual co-host on Orange Blue Blood Thursday, Ben Troop, Van Spirit, and Lauren Meadows. I'm Buddy Martin, wishing you a happy good night and happy Easter. We'll come at you next Monday. Good night.